All right, guys, we're back here at Beyond the Skills podcast, where we talk everything business, real estate, entrepreneurship, marriage, sex, diet, working out, skills, everything to improve your life, because that's what it's about. It's about improving your life, improving the quality and condition of your life, and that's what I strive for every day, because I push Big Mama. Big Mama pushes me, and we want to push you guys and transmigrate all these skills that I've developed over the past 20 years or so into you guys. So today, we got a topic of, I think, that's near and dear to me and Patti's heart. We were talking about that this morning, and it's controversial, and that's being a nonconformist, right?
Yeah.
You got to be a nonconformist. Anybody that is an entrepreneur is basically a nonconformist. Anybody that wants to build wealth, make money, do anything awesome in life is a nonconformist. Basically, you're an outlier, right? And whether you want to do that or not, you're going to have to be a nonconformist and an outlier to do anything of substance, because you got to do the opposite of the masses. Because if you're doing everything the masses do, you're going to have all the same results the masses have.
That's right. There's
a beautiful quote by Marcus Aurelius. He says something to the extent, I try not to find myself in the ranks of the masses because they're insane, right? He said it, and he didn't say it just like.
I think it's important to think for yourself too. Like, just because everybody else is doing a certain thing doesn't mean that's the right thing or that's your thing. Like, you need to think what works for you. And I think just the idea of thinking about you and your direction is what levels you up from all those other people, because they're just going. Like, they're not even thinking.
Yep. Well, and thinking for yourself includes thinking not what your parents think.
Right.
Not what your friends think. Not
your
what
parents don't want the safest direction for you, and that's not always the right case.
What's best for you.
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem for a lot of people that are, trying to become an entrepreneur, trying to do something of substance or build wealth and things of that nature. They listen to their parents. Or they listen to their friends and family telling them that's not a good idea. How many times have I been told since I was 22 years old, that's a bad idea, that's stupid, man, that's dangerous, that's risky. Listen, guys, if you want to do anything in life, it's risky, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing with our parents is just because it was right in their time doesn't make it right in our time.
So that's such a good point, Patti. Let's talk about
Economy
that.
changes, different things in life change. Different things are needed and wanted that weren't needed and wanted back in the day. Like, so you have to go within your own season. Like, just because that wasn't what your parents experienced doesn't mean that's what's going to work today.
Well, look at what's the biggest disconnect from our parents' generation to our generation. Social media. How much flack did I get for trying to build a brand on social media, or even my business brand, doing real estate, right? Like, oh man, you're all over social media. Our parents like, what are you doing? What is Chris doing? That's man, you're gonna create a lot of antagonism. You're gonna do this because they're not used to that.
Yeah.
The old mindset of thinking is, don't say anything, don't be loud and proud, don't promote yourself, don't
keep everything personal,
quiet.
And I think also, like with my parents' generation, like a lot of those generations, they had trades.
Yeah.
And then it moved into, you go to college. And then now there's no more tradesmen, and there's like, everybody's going to college, so that degree doesn't mean shit. So it's like, it's kind of like the economy, right? Things go up and down. Like, you just got to know what's needed and wanted in that timeline.
Well, let's talk about how to be a nonconformist, because I think it's super important that we talk about this. And if you guys, and like, obviously guys, if you watch this podcast and you don't like it, you're probably not an entrepreneur, or you're not, growth driven. Like, I'm a personal development junkie. I'm a wealth building junkie. I'm a weirdo. I'm gonna just be frankly speaking. I mean, I wear the same clothes every day. Like, I'm not usually dressed like this. We're just coming off a family photo shoot. I, frankly speaking, don't have enough bandwidth to try to figure out how to wear nice clothes. I wear Under Armour every day because it works for me, and I ain't got to think about it. I bought like 15 sets of Under Armour, different. She buys it, and I just wear that every day because I don't want to think about it. If we go somewhere nice, she has to dress me because my mind doesn't think that way. My mind thinks about what's my next business move? What problems do I have? What deals am I working? And it's like a rat. And
I always think it's funny listening to the like comments on some of the things you post, because you could tell that those aren't entrepreneur like people that are making comments. It's like, those aren't your people. Like, you're talking to a specific type of person.
Right. And if you subscribe to me, you're entrepreneurial. But you know, case in point, we made a post last week that went viral. It's at 500,000 views, 18,000 shares, and it was me talking about, if you want to have the biggest hack is skip the party days. We talked about that on the last podcast. That went viral.
And one comment was, "You sound like such a buzzkill."
Yeah.
I was like dying.
Well, I'd say 60 to 70% of the comments were against me, and what my followers is people that shared it to somebody else, and
so
it's
many
like,
people like to party and just waste time,
and that's what I want to talk to you guys. Most people want to party. Most people don't want to do the grind. Most people don't want to, outwork the masses or skill up beyond their normal skill set that it takes to just have a 40-hour work week job and a college degree. That's what everybody else is doing. You have to do what everybody else ain't willing to do. Yeah. To get the results nobody else has.
Which brings us back to why we're talking about this today, to be a nonconformist, because to live the life you have, you're going to have to take more risks than the average Joe.
Listen,
you have
guys,
to work more hours.
Listen, guys, I told my kids, I said, hey, listen up, you little fuckers. Y'all ain't gonna have this life. Y'all ain't gonna have this life just because me and your mama have this life does not mean you're gonna have this life. If y'all not willing to do this shit and see all the sacrifice and the hard work that I've been doing for the past 20 years, this ain't normal shit. Y'all are living off the fruits of my labor. And that's down. And I set a clear-cut expectations of what they're gonna have to confront when they get older. They're not gonna live in a $2.5 million house. They're not gonna be able to travel and have all these vacation homes. They grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth, and we constantly shove that down their throat. Why? Yeah. Because I want them to know this ain't normal.
Yeah, and we're not gonna just fit the bill for the rest of their life either, because we want them to do for themselves.
Absolutely. This shit is so out of the ordinary, what you got to do, that you have to almost psych yourself out. And I'm not saying don't be an ordinary man. I would say I'm an ordinary guy that's just trying to do extraordinary things. But at the end of the day, you're not going to have a lot of friends. A lot of people are going to talk shit on you. You're going to be lonely. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to wonder if you're doing the right thing. You're going to think you're crazy. But you got to keep going, and you keep pushing. And all of a sudden, you start gaining ground. You start gaining momentum. You start outpacing the masses, right?
I think it's the mental bandwidth, too. Like, you have to have the mental part, like, handled right away, because that's the hardest avenue. It's just getting through it, pushing through.
You got to have a mental six pack, right? All those muscles, all you guys that that are on TRT and 40 years old, thinking that you're gonna live the glory days again, and it's gonna make you look like He-Man and this and that. It ain't gonna help your mindset, right? And at the end of the day, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, I work out for my mental state, not for muscles. The byproduct that I'll get muscles, but you see all these men that are. They lift all these weights. They all macho men, but they won't take a risk. And they're so obsessed with the way they look.
How's their mental state?
Yeah, their mental state. You get them, you ask them to start a business or something. You ask them to take a little risk or put up some capital and invest some money, and they freak the fuck out.
And you know what, too? Discipline. Like, they want the easy route, Well, discipline's the hardest part, too.
We were talking about that earlier. I mean, look, at the end of the day, guys, everything is so fake. For you young guys that follow me, the world has become a big facade, an acting show, especially on the gram as an entrepreneur, where now you can fake it till you make it and everything. Used to not be able to fake muscles. Used to not be able to fake wealth. Used to not be able to fake relationships. Now you can buy muscles, TRT. Now you can buy followers. Now you can take pictures on the gram and rent a Lambo. Now you can invest in fake assets and hopefully gamble. Everything is turned fake. At the end of the day, all that shit is gonna fail, and I've seen
It's temporary. It's temporary. Not long lasting.
Do the hard shit that nobody wants to do, and you will have the life that nobody else has. as simple as that.
Well, give them an example of how we always went the opposite way. When everybody's going left, we went right.
Since we were 22, we were talking about
well,
this.
even before this.
Yeah, before we were married.
Not on purpose, but I mean, we had a child at 17.
She got me pregnant.
Both private Catholic school. I had just graduated. He was still in Catholic school.
Junior
in Catholic school. So we were like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do now? Like, our life is over. We panicked for a little while, and then we're like, get it together. You know, like, we still pretty awesome people. We got this.
Yep.
And we just kept on doing the right thing. We're like, well, what's the next right thing? Like, we screwed up along the way, but I think that was our first like pivot onto like, oops, maybe this wasn't the right road. But I think the key is that no, we could still do the things we need to do, even though maybe we took like the long way around and we did the hard shit first. And that's what we did. We kept on still doing the things that we wanted to do. We didn't make that an excuse. We actually, for me personally, it just gave me more of an edge. And I think for you too, it just made me like, well, no, I have to grow up faster. Now I'm like,
that was the best thing that could have happened to us. In retrospect, it made us become, it made me a man. I was like, oh shit, I got a kid. And I had to go straight to work. Yeah. It made you have to stop, you know, acting like a little girl, you know, and you can't just fuck off and you got a baby. Yeah. Listen, 100 years ago, people were having kids at 14 or 15 years old. Yeah. Now it's unacceptable. Right. And I'm not telling you guys.
We're not telling you that's
go get
the right
pregnant
way.
at 17.
But we're telling you if it happens, it's not the end of the world. And it doesn't define where you're going to go in life. Like, I think my parents looked at me and they were like, we're going to help. And you're going to still be able to do the things you need to do. You're going to still be able to go to college. I still cheered in college. I had a baby that was 1. I mean, I still wanted to follow my dreams. So don't let those left turns, you know, dismay you from your goals. You know, I mean, that was our first one. And then we moved in together before we were married. You know, that was a given. We did that for a while. But we always went, like, we both did go to college. Not that we wanted to, but our parents forced us to and paid for it. So we went to college. I personally never used my degree. And then I got my real estate license. So we still took that road. What do you think about taking that road, Chris? What do you thought college did for you?
I'm gonna just tell you, well, college did nothing, but I don't want to say it's a complete waste of time, because there are people that I don't want
to go to college.
Yeah, I don't want to generalize, because I am a different breed of cat. Yeah. I'm a fucking weirdo. I'm gonna admit that. I'm a weird dude. Like, I have so much energy that I think if
you're entrepreneurial driven, like
most guys are that are like me. Most entrepreneurs.
You're not college material most of the time. Material.
I went through it. I got through it.
I went through it for him. Let me just state the facts.
If you need to take the DISC test and understand your personality type and figure out who you are. You know, if you are hard-headed and driven and you like to do what you want to do and you don't like to be told what to do, there's a pretty good chance you're a hardcore driver like me. But if you can't handle risk, don't have a high risk tolerance for just taking a risk, or you can't handle pressure or stress, you should probably go to college and get a job, right? It's not for everybody. Yeah. But once again, this podcast is for entrepreneurs, right? People that have been labeled ADD and ADHD their whole life. People that have been labeled dyslexic. People that say
that's a whole nother angle that we could take, that we went right. We went the opposite way when everybody was telling us to go right. Like, we refused to medicate our children. Yeah. And we pulled them out of over 6 different schools every time they would bring that up. We're like, okay, we're out. That's not what we're going to do. There's a better way. And we just kept on pushing through. But I'll tell you, that was a really hard part of our life. And that's why we changed our path to homeschool.
30% of those kids going to school right now are on some kind of psychotropic medication, Adderall, Ritalin, antidepressants, Zoloft, Xanax, Paxil, Prozac, whatever it may be. Do you think, in retrospect now, looking back 20 years later, that this country and the children are better off for it? No. It was a bad idea. Do you think going to college, all these kids that went to college the past 20 years, was a good idea? Now that you look at the student debt and they don't have enough jobs? No, it was a bad idea. do you look at all the lack of service trade workers and businesses out there that can't keep up with the demand because nobody went to trade school anymore? Do you think it was a good idea to funnel everybody into college and tell everybody it's beneath you to go to a trade school in retrospect now? No, it was a bad idea. So case in point, everything you've been told was maybe not a good idea. But some authority figure told you it's a good idea. Your parents told you.
Always question when somebody's pressuring you, the why behind their pressure. I feel the same way about vaccines, and don't even get us started on that, but we haven't vaccinated our kids in almost 10 plus years.
The last 3, we didn't have any vaccinations.
So, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. And listen, my mom's a nurse. Like, it took a few years to get her on board with this, and now she's fully on board.
That's being a nonconformist.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to wear a mask. Nonconformist. I didn't want to get vaccinated. Nonconformist. I don't want to take medication because I supposedly have ADD and ADHD. I'm a nonconformist. I don't want to get a job because I can't work for somebody. I'm a nonconformist.
As we see natural doctors, we take natural medicine. Like, we are not going to just put anything in our body just because we feel pressured.
I lift weights. I'm a nonconformist. I do cold plunge. I'm a nonconformist. I meditate. I'm a nonconformist. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and read and meditate and journal. I'm a nonconformist. Most people don't do all those things, right? That's how you have to start thinking, right? If you're, 19, 20, maybe even 25, and you think about maybe going back to college, just trying to reorient yourself, do the opposite of the masses. Don't go to college. Don't have a bunch of friends, because your friends are going to be a huge indicator of your success. That was one thing I did really well, is I kind of disassociated myself with all my friends that were going in a different direction than me, right? Start a business. That's nonconformist attitude. Read books and wake up early. That's becoming a nonconformist. Hire business and personal development coaches. That's becoming a nonconformist. Go to masterminds. That's being a nonconformist. Do personal development. That's a nonconformist. When you watch the media and the news and just the general public at large, it's almost like as though people are not even they're doing development, right?
Yeah.
Not self-development.
Well, I think they focus, because of social media, on so many, like, watching other people and other people's success instead of like investing in their own success. Because it's all like a show, right? It's all like reality TV that we're watching all day long. But it's like, your reality is more important than that. So I think it's important to like see things for what they are. I mean, I was listening to a girl the other day, and it made sense. She's like, you literally see 5 minutes of my life on Instagram. It seems like there's a bunch of little dots, but really that's about 5 minutes of my whole day. So you can't make an assumption over 5 minutes of somebody's day. But I think a lot of us do, and we compare ourselves to that. And then comparison is what? The thief of joy. You have to do you. You have to know what you're good at. I think that test is very important too, because like, I always knew I was good at sales. Like, that was just naturally good at that. So that's something I knew I would be good at and I focused on. But that was just like almost a guess, like, until we did these tests. But you have always been a great salesman. You sold me on you.
Say that again.
You sold me on you. I 17?
Yep.
So there's your first big sale right there.
And maybe we'll do a podcast on how to get the girl of your dreams.
Oh, God.
I never had problems getting girls. So, and it's not, you got to do the opposite of masses. You don't chase, right? I don't chase. I'd come at you, I'd make comments, and then act like I don't like you. And what did you do? You chase me. It's all reverse.
Plays games.
I play games. Play mind games. But at the end of the day, that's different, right? And I think at the end of the day, the world is not what you have been told by school, by your parents, by media, by the general at large, that life is a lot harder and difficult than we have been brought up to think. And people, I find, overall, have gotten crazier and crazier and unhappier and unhappier. So obviously, the past 20 years, the world hasn't been heading in the right direction, because things are different. I grew up in the 80s. When I was a child, I was born in 81. From the 80s, 90s, 2000 to now, the whole general public at large is just different, right? They're unhappy. They're miserable. They're not happy with themselves. They're not happy with the way their life turned out. And why? Because they're a conformist. They did everything that everybody told them to do instead of thinking for themselves, doing what their heart told them, their gut, their intuition. You got to do you. Just because your mom, your teacher, or whoever it may be, your friends tell you to do something, think for yourself, guys. Evaluate information, study.
Be willing to learn from somebody else that you admire. And be willing to take advice from those people who you want to be like. Not necessarily your parents or your buddy. Somebody that you admire and you look up to. Like, ask them. I remember I used to wait tables in a very ritzy area of town. And this man was so nice. And I noticed he was reading a book that I wanted to read. And I was very, like, enamored. And I'm thinking to myself, if this man is reading this book, I need to read this book. Because he was somebody I wanted to be like. And I think that's what you need to look for. You don't necessarily just, this is the college I want to go to. Find the person that you want to be like and study them. And study what they're studying.
100%. Well, I think as we wrap this thing up, I think you guys just need to reflect on this podcast and think about how you're being a nonconformist in life. How are you going against the grain? Mm-hmm. Because going against the grain has gotten me everything I wanted in life.
And let me tell you, the hardest part you're going to get is people backlashing, like a lot of backlash. Just make sure you handle that and disconnect if you have to, because that's going to, it's just going to build time in between you and your goals.
Well, it scares people.
Yeah.
When you're a nonconformist, it scares people because then you become almost a threat that, it may be that what you're doing makes them feel insecure, inadequate, inferior. Mm-hmm. I know that's what happened with when I started passing up all my friends.
If we would have listened to all those people, my gosh, we wouldn't be where we're at.
No, and I'd be miserable. Yeah. I can't be like that.
But you need to be stern. I think in our older age, we're like, no. Like,
yeah. Well, you become wiser.
Yes. And stoic. I think you study stoicism. Yep. I think you become stoic. You just become stoic and be like, okay, cool. That's good for you, but that's not me. And just, how to handle it.
We add that to the list. You need to study Stoicism, right? What is Stoicism about? It's about basically making yourself do the hard stuff, getting rid of your emotions, understanding that they're there, but they don't control you. You control them, and how to push through stuff. Yeah. Every entrepreneur should study Stoicism.
I like that because I'm an emotional person when I get upset. And I love that Stoicism teaches you how to handle your emotions, because to me, that's my struggle. So we talk about, there's one specific person we know, but damn, she's so stoic, she doesn't have emotion when it comes to bullshit. She's just it is what it is.
The 21st century word for stoicism would be, don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's what stoicism sums up, right?
Yeah.
And to add to that, I don't want to say just that. It's basically how to live a virtuous life.
Yeah.
Right? How to do the right thing, right? Honor, respect, discipline, study of wisdom, knowledge, right? And I think I've always been a natural stoic just my whole life because I've always pursued that stuff. Yeah. I just didn't know what I was doing. And once I learned about that, it helped me even be more of a nonconformist. And the older I get, the more I want to be a nonconformist, man. Look at what's going on in the world, in the masses. It's absolute silliness what's going on in the world right now, where 2 + 2 = 5, and if you're you could be a dog if you want, or identify as a glass of water, or a phone if you want.
It's confusion.
No,
it's a lot of confusion.
It's all by design too. It's a communist takeover, right? We all know that what's going on, but the masses are so conformist that they're conforming to all this and doing whatever the government and media outlets tell them to do and how to think, right? The biggest rebel that you can be is to think for yourself. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to think for yourself. You got to be able to evaluate data.
And know within that you're doing the right thing. We have solid, hardcore ethics, and we have complete and utter faith in ourselves that we are doing the right thing.
Well, that's one of the Stoic principles is a high ethics level, right? Living a virtuous life. And that the biggest pay of life is not the physical objects you acquire in life, but the pay of life is virtue, right? All these virtues that when you discipline yourself, you feel good after.
Yeah.
it's a payback.
Yeah. And you don't have any guilty conscience because no, I'm doing the right thing. I know I am, you know.
And listen, we're not telling you all this that we walk on water and we do everything right.
No, shit, we was just cursing at our kids. I mean, like,
I curse, I make mistakes.
We do not have a perfect life.
No.
We do not.
But we strive to.
We try our best.
Yes. And there's nobody that has a perfect life.
Yeah,
and that's another thing. If you follow a man, if you even follow me, you never put another man on a pedestal. You can admire another man, but you never, ever put him in some kind of superpower, super being, because he's just a man, right? The old saying, don't ever meet your hero because you're going to be upset or disappointed, right? Don't ever meet your hero because you may be disappointed.
There is no perfect.
There's no perfect man. You take and extract from different men the virtues you like, the quality and characteristics. You make it into your own personality, and you do you, and you be you, and you strive to be the highest quality man you can be, and be an example for other people.
Yep.
So I think we'll wrap it up with that. If you like this podcast, give me a like, give me a comment. We like good or bad comments. It'll help the algorithm.
We're working on Chris's Facebook, getting that Facebook page back.
Yep, should be getting my Facebook back. I talked to a guy today from Facebook. I should be getting it back within the next 2 days, so that'll be good. My Facebook's been down. I had to start a new page, but we're getting it all back. But anyway, if you follow me, or if you want to follow me on Facebook, just go to Chris Rood. My page that's messed up right now is Chris Rood Entrepreneur. I should be getting that back. Give that a follow. But make sure you follow me on Instagram at Real Estate Rood. And if you want to go to if you want to get some coaching or you want to do things of that nature, go to chrisrood.com, book a call with me to talk to me, or come out to one of my masterminds, inbox me on social media.
Ooh, we have one coming up in Destin. It's going to be beautiful.
We have an Allies mastermind in Destin. Matter of fact, we have an event tonight or tomorrow night at our house. We got Forrest Griffin coming from the UFC. We got some other big time entrepreneurs, sales experts, Eric Klein. And it's going to be a good time. So if you want to be an outlier, if you want to be a nonconformist, that was one of my key points. Go to masterminds. Most people can't go to masterminds. They think it's a scam or they think it's weird. So do that. Follow Patti. Patti, where can you follow you?
Instagram on Living the Real Estate Life, and Facebook is Patti Rood.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode of Beyond the Skills.